You know that moment when everything you thought you knew about your life shatters in an instant? This is the story of how my wedding day, what should have been the happiest day of my life, turned into the day I discovered my father's 25-year-old secret, a secret that would destroy my family, cancel my wedding, and change everything I thought I knew about who I am. My name is Sarah. I'm 25 years old, and this
I heard
happened
something
6
was
months
outside.
ago. But to
Getting closer.
understand
Hurry
what
up, move
happened,
fast.
I need to take you back to the beginning. I grew up in what I thought was a picture-perfect family. My dad, Robert, was a successful corporate lawyer. My mom, Catherine, was a high school English teacher. I'm an only child, and honestly, I was spoiled with love and attention my entire life. My parents seemed solid. They had their disagreements like any couple, but nothing serious. They celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary 2 years ago with a huge party. Friends and family came from all over. My dad gave this beautiful speech about how my mom was his soulmate, how he couldn't imagine life without her. I believed every word of it. Fast forward to last year. I got engaged to my boyfriend Daniel. We'd been together for 4 years, met in college, and he was everything I could ask for in a partner. Kind, funny, supportive, ambitious. My parents loved him. My dad especially seemed to really connect with Daniel. They'd watch football together, talk about investments, guy stuff. We set the wedding date for June 15th, a Saturday. Outdoor ceremony at this beautiful vineyard about an hour outside the city. We'd been planning for 8 months. Everything was perfect. The venue, the flowers, the dress, the guest list of 150 people. I had my bridesmaids, Daniel had his groomsmen. My dad was going to walk me down the aisle. I was so happy, so incredibly, naively happy. The wedding was scheduled for 4 p.m. The rehearsal dinner was the night before, Friday evening, at a nice restaurant near the vineyard. About 40 people, immediate family and wedding party. Everything went smoothly. My dad gave a toast. He talked about watching me grow up, how proud he was, how Daniel was lucky to have me. Everyone laughed and cried in all the right places. My mom squeezed his hand. I hugged him afterward and told him I loved him. That night, Daniel and I stayed at the vineyard's guest house. Traditional separation before the wedding, you know. He stayed in one room with his groomsmen. I stayed in another with my bridesmaids. We were laughing, drinking wine, doing face masks, having the stereotypical girls' night before the wedding. I went to bed around midnight feeling like the luckiest person alive. I woke up the next morning around 9 a.m. wedding day. The sun was shining. Perfect weather, not too hot, light breeze. Absolutely ideal. My bridesmaids and I had breakfast. Then the hair and makeup team arrived around 11. We were chatting, laughing, taking pre-wedding photos. My mom came by around noon with my dress. She was crying happy tears. Everything felt magical. My dad texted me around 1 p.m. with, "Can't wait to walk my beautiful daughter down the aisle. Love you so much." I texted back a string of heart emojis. At that moment, I had no idea that in 3 hours my entire world would implode. The ceremony was supposed to start at 4 p.m. sharp. By 3:30, I was fully dressed. The photographer was taking photos of me in my dress. My bridesmaids were touching up their makeup. My mom was outside greeting guests as they arrived. My wedding coordinator came in around 3:40 to let me know we were on schedule. Guests were seated. The string quartet was playing. Everything was going perfectly. At 3:50, 10 minutes before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, there was a knock on the door of the bridal suite. My maid of honor opened it. Standing there was a young woman I'd never seen before in my life. She was about my age, maybe a little younger. Long brown hair, green eyes, wearing a simple sundress. She looked nervous, scared even, but determined. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said quietly. "But I need to speak to Sarah. It's urgent. It's about her father." My heart immediately started racing. My first thought was something happened to my dad. An accident. A heart attack. Something terrible. "Is my dad okay?" I asked, standing up quickly, wedding dress rustling. The woman looked at me with this strange expression. Sad, apologetic, resolved. "Your dad is fine," she said. "But I need to tell you something before you walk down that aisle. Something you deserve to know." My bridesmaids exchanged confused looks. My maid of honor stepped forward protectively. "Who are you?" she asked. The woman took a deep breath. "My name is Rachel," she said, looking directly at me. "And Robert is my father, too." The room went completely silent. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me, like I was falling but somehow still standing. "What?" I whispered. "I'm your sister," Rachel said, her voice shaking slightly. "Your half-sister. Our father, Robert, had an affair with my mother 26 years ago. I'm 25 years old, just like you." I literally couldn't process what she was saying. The words made no sense. It was like she was speaking a foreign language. "That's impossible," I said. "My dad wouldn't do that. You're wrong. You have the wrong person." Rachel reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. She walked toward me slowly, like approaching a scared animal. "I didn't want to do this today," she said. "I really didn't. I know this is your wedding, but I found out about you 3 months ago, and I've been trying to decide what to do. I finally realized you deserve to know the truth. Before you get married. Before you build your life on more lies." She handed me the folder. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside were documents, a birth certificate with Rachel's name, mother's name, Jennifer Morrison. Father's name, Robert Matthews. My father's name. There were photos, old photos from the late 1990s. My father, looking younger, with a woman I didn't recognize. They were holding a baby. The baby was wearing a pink outfit with Rachel embroidered on it. There were more recent photos. Rachel as a child, Rachel as a teenager. Always just her and her mother. No father in the pictures. And there was a DNA test, a paternity test, showing 99.9% probability that Robert Matthews was Rachel's biological father. I looked up at her, tears streaming down my face, smudging my carefully applied makeup. "How long have you known?" I whispered. "About you specifically?" 3 months, Rachel said. "But I've known Robert was my father my whole life. My mom told me when I was 10. She said he wasn't ready to be a father, that he chose his other family over us. She made me promise never to contact him." "Then why are you here now?" I asked, my voice breaking. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "Because my mom died 4 months ago," she said quietly. "Cancer. And when she was dying, she told me the truth. That Robert didn't just leave us. He never even told his wife about me. He paid my mom money every month to keep quiet. Hush money. For 25 years. The room was spinning. I sat down hard on the chair, my dress pooling around me. "He knew about you this whole time?" I asked. "Yes," Rachel said. "He's known since before I was born. He chose to keep me a secret. He chose to pretend I didn't exist while he played perfect family man with you and your mother." At that moment, my mother walked into the bridal suite. "Sarah, honey, it's time to—" She stopped when she saw Rachel. "Who is this?" I looked at my mother. Sweet, kind, trusting Catherine, who had been married to my father for 30 years, who had no idea that her husband had been lying to her for more than 2 decades. "Mom," I said, my voice hollow. "This is Rachel. She says she's Dad's daughter, from an affair." 25 years ago. My mother's face went completely white. She gripped the doorframe for support. "That's not possible," she whispered. Rachel silently handed her the folder. I watched my mother's face as she looked through the documents, the photos, the DNA test. I watched 30 years of marriage crumble in real time. She looked up at Rachel with tears streaming down her face. "Does he know you're here?" she asked quietly. "No," Rachel said. "I haven't spoken to him since I found out Sarah existed. I wanted to tell her first, before she made the same mistake my mother made, trusting a man who lies." My mother set the folder down carefully on the table. Her hands were shaking. "Where is Robert right now?" she asked, her voice eerily calm. "He's outside," my wedding coordinator said nervously from the doorway. "He's waiting to walk Sarah down the aisle. Everyone is seated. The quartet is ready. Should I tell them to wait?" My mother looked at me, really looked at me. I could see her making a decision. "No," she said firmly. "Tell them we're canceling the ceremony." "Mom, what?" I said, standing up. "We can't just cancel. There are 150 people out there. Daniel is waiting. We can deal with this after—" "No," my mother said again, more forcefully. Your father has been lying to both of us for 25 years. He doesn't get to walk you down the aisle. He doesn't get to give you away like he's some honorable man. Not after this." She turned to Rachel. "Come with me," she said. "You deserve to face him too." What happened next was simultaneously the worst and most surreal moment of my entire life. My mother, still in her elegant Mother of the Bride dress, walked out of the bridal suite with Rachel beside her. My bridesmaids and I followed behind, me still in my full wedding dress. We walked through the vineyard toward where the ceremony was set up. I could hear the quartet playing softly. I could see rows of guests seated in white chairs. I could see Daniel standing at the altar with his groomsmen, looking handsome in his tuxedo. And I could see my father standing near the entrance to the aisle, waiting to walk me down it. When he saw us approaching, his face lit up. "There's my beautiful girl," he started to say. Then he saw Rachel walking next to my mother. His face changed completely, all the color drained out of it. "Catherine," he said, his voice strangled. "What is she doing here?" "You know who she is?" my mother said. It wasn't a question. My father looked at Rachel, then at my mother, then at me in my wedding dress. I could see his mind racing, trying to figure out how to handle this. "We should talk about this privately," he said quietly. "Not here. Not now. This is Sarah's wedding day." "No," my mother said loudly, loud enough that nearby guests started turning around to look. "This ends right now. No more secrets. No more lies." She turned to face the guests. The quartet stopped playing. Everyone was staring now. "I'm sorry, everyone," my mother announced, her voice carrying across the vineyard, "but there's not going to be a wedding today." Gasps and confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Daniel started walking toward us from the altar, looking concerned and confused. "Catherine, stop," my father said urgently, reaching for her arm. She pulled away from him. "Tell them," she said to him. "Tell everyone here who this young woman is." My father looked around at all the staring faces, family, friends, colleagues, everyone we knew, everyone he'd been lying to for 25 years. "Catherine, please," he said, his voice breaking. "Don't do this." "Tell them," my mother repeated, "or I will." When my father said nothing, just stood there looking stricken, my mother turned back to the guests. "This is Rachel Morrison," she announced. "She's 25 years old, and she's Robert's daughter, from an affair he had while we were married. An affair he's been hiding for more than 2 decades. The reaction from the guests was immediate and chaotic. Shocked gasps, loud whispers, people pulling out their phones. Daniel reached me and put his arm around me protectively. "Sarah, what's happening?" he asked quietly. I couldn't even answer him. I was watching my father's face as his secret life was exposed to everyone we knew. My father's brother, my Uncle Tom, stood up from his seat. "Robert, is this true?" he called out. My father looked at the ground, said nothing. Rachel stepped forward, holding up the folder with the DNA test and photos. "It's true," she said clearly. "I have proof. He's been paying my mother money for 25 years to keep me a secret. And when she died 4 months ago, I decided Sarah deserved to know before she got married that her father is a liar." My grandmother, my dad's mother, was crying in her seat. Some of my mom's friends had gotten up and were walking toward her to offer support. My dad's colleagues were looking at him with expressions ranging from shock to disgust. Daniel held me tighter. "Do you want to leave?" he whispered. "We can go inside, get you away from this." But I couldn't move. I felt frozen, trapped in this nightmare. My father finally looked up at me. "Sarah," he said, his voice desperate. "I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you. I've wanted to tell you for years, but I didn't know how. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" I heard myself say. My voice sounded strange, distant. "You weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourself. Your mother and I went through a rough patch," he said, words tumbling out now. "It was a mistake. One mistake. 26 years ago. Jennifer and we only saw each other for a few months. When she told me she was pregnant, I panicked. I had you, I had your mother, I had my career. I couldn't lose everything." "So you chose to pretend Rachel didn't exist," I said. "I provided for her financially. my father said. I made sure Jennifer had everything she needed. I kept my responsibility. Responsibility? Rachel said, her voice shaking with anger. You sent money. That's not responsibility. That's guilt payment. You were never a father to me. You never even met me. I grew up without a dad because you couldn't handle the truth. My mother was crying silently, tears running down her face. Friends were surrounding her now, holding her hands. Catherine, my father said, turning to her, please, let's talk about this in private. We can work through this. After 30 years, you can't just— 30 years of lies, Robert, my mother said. Every day for 30 years, you looked me in the eye and lied. When I asked if everything was okay, when we celebrated anniversaries, when we raised our daughter, you were lying the whole time. I was protecting our family, he said desperately. You were protecting yourself, my mother said. And now everyone knows exactly who you really are. She looked at me. Sarah, I'm so sorry this happened on your wedding day, she said. But I couldn't let him walk you down that aisle. I couldn't let him have that moment when he doesn't deserve it. I nodded, unable to speak. Daniel's arm was still around me, holding me up. The wedding is canceled, my mother announced to the guests. We apologize for the inconvenience and the wasted trip. The reception hall has already been paid for, so please feel free to go there and enjoy the food and drinks. But there won't be a marriage today. She took my hand. Come on, honey, let's get you out of this dress. The next few hours were a complete blur. Daniel helped me back to the bridal suite. My bridesmaids helped me out of the wedding dress. I sat there in a robe, completely numb, while my bridesmaids whispered worriedly around me. Guests were leaving. Some went to the reception hall, some just went home. The vineyard staff was quietly taking down the ceremony setup. My mother came back to the suite after about an hour. She'd changed out of her dress into regular clothes. How are you holding up? She asked me. I just shook my head. I couldn't even begin to answer that question. Where's Dad? I asked. I told him to leave, she said. He wanted to talk to you. I said absolutely not. Not today. Maybe not ever. And Rachel? She left too. She gave me her phone number. Said if you ever want to talk, she'd like that. But she understands if you don't. I looked at my mother. This woman who'd just had her entire marriage exposed as a lie, who'd just learned her husband had a whole secret daughter. Mom, I'm so sorry, I said, starting to cry again. She pulled me into a hug. This is not your fault, she said firmly. None of this is your fault. Your father made these choices, not you. Daniel sat down on my other side, taking my hand. What do you want to do? He asked gently. Do you want to postpone the wedding or cancel it completely? I looked at him. This good, kind man who'd just watched his wedding day turn into a family implosion. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know anything anymore. We don't have to decide right now, he said. We can figure it out later, whatever you need. And that's what we did. We didn't make any decisions that day. We just existed in the chaos. The days after the failed wedding were some of the hardest of my life. My mom filed for divorce 3 days later. 30 years of marriage ended just like that. My father tried to call me repeatedly. I didn't answer. He sent long text messages, emails, letters to my apartment, all saying the same thing. He was sorry. It was a mistake. He loved me. He wanted to explain. I didn't respond to any of it. 2 weeks after the wedding that never happened, Rachel reached out to me via text. Hi, Sarah. I know you probably hate me for ruining your wedding. I'm sorry for the timing, but I'm not sorry for telling you the truth. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. No pressure. I stared at that text for a long time before responding. I don't hate you. None of this is your fault either. Can we meet for coffee? We met 3 days later at a cafe downtown. It was incredibly awkward at first. We sat across from each other, 2 women who were supposedly sisters but were complete strangers. I really am sorry about your wedding, Rachel said. I debated for weeks whether to tell you or not. I almost didn't come. Why did you? I asked. She was quiet for a moment. Because my mom spent 25 years loving a man who was never really hers, she said finally. She waited for him to leave his wife and be with us properly. He never did. She died still hoping. I didn't want you to marry someone thinking you knew him and your family, when there were these huge secrets. You deserved the truth." I nodded slowly. She was right. As horrible as the timing was, I did deserve the truth. "What was it like?" I asked. "Growing up knowing about him but never meeting him?" Rachel's expression was sad. "Lonely," she said. "I'd see other kids with their dads and wonder what mine was like. My mom would tell me stories about him, but they felt almost fictional, like he was a character in a book rather than a real person." "Did you ever try to contact him?" "Once, when I was 16, she admitted. "I found his office number and called. A secretary answered. I got scared and hung up. My mom was so angry when she found out. She made me promise never to do it again." We talked for 2 hours that day, comparing our lives, our childhoods, discovering similarities and differences. It was strange and painful, but also somehow necessary. Over the next few months, Rachel and I met several more times. Slowly, tentatively, we built something that almost felt like a relationship. My father kept trying to reach out. I finally agreed to see him 3 months after the wedding disaster. We met at a park, neutral territory. He looked terrible. Like he'd aged 10 years. His eyes were red. His face was drawn. "Sarah," he said when he saw me, "thank you for agreeing to see me." I sat down on a bench. He sat next to me but kept a respectful distance. "I've been trying to figure out what to say to you," he started. "How to explain, how to make you understand." "You can't," I said flatly. "There's no explanation that makes this okay." "I know," he said. "You're right, there isn't. But I want you to know the truth about what happened." He told me the story. How he and my mom had been fighting a lot 26 years ago. How he'd met Jennifer at a work conference. How they'd had a brief affair. How when Jennifer told him she was pregnant, he'd panicked. "I'd just found out your mom was pregnant with you too," he said. "We'd been trying for years. It was like some cosmic joke. 2 women pregnant with my children at the same time." "So you chose us," I said. "I chose the life I'd already built," he said. "I chose my marriage, my home, my career. And I convinced myself I could handle both. I'd pay Jennifer to support Rachel, and I'd be the husband and father you and your mom deserved." "But you couldn't handle both," I said, "because the whole thing was built on lies." "I know that now," he said. "I've always known it, really. But by the time I realized how badly I'd messed up, it felt too late to fix it. If I told your mom the truth, she'd leave me. If I told you, you'd hate me, so I just kept the lie going." "For 25 years, I said. "For 25 years, he agreed. "And I know that's unforgivable." We sat in silence for a while. "Do you want me to forgive you?" I asked finally. "I want you to understand that I love you," he said. "I always have. Everything I did, as wrong as it was, I did because I was terrified of losing you." "You lost me anyway," I said. "The second Rachel walked into that bridal suite, I lost the father I thought I knew. That man doesn't exist anymore." He started crying then. Quiet, broken sobs. "I don't know how to fix this," he said. "You can't," I told him. "Some things you just can't fix." 6 months have passed since my wedding day that never happened. My parents' divorce was finalized last month. My mom got the house, half his retirement savings, and alimony. She's starting to seem like herself again. Started dating someone new, a nice man who teaches at her school. She seems happy, or at least happier. My father moved into a small apartment across town. He retired early from his firm. The scandal damaged his reputation too badly to continue. He tried to reach out to Rachel. She refused to see him, said it was too little, too late. Rachel and I have continued meeting regularly. We're not quite friends, not quite sisters, but something in between. We're figuring it out as we go. As for Daniel and me, we got married 3 months ago, just the 2 of us, at a courthouse, with my mom and his parents as witnesses. No big ceremony, no guests, no father walking me down the aisle. Just 2 people who love each other, making a promise without all the lies and complications. It wasn't the wedding I'd dreamed of, but it was real. And after everything that happened, Real felt more important than perfect. My father sent a gift with a card that said, "I'm so sorry I wasn't there." I sent it back unopened. Rachel sent flowers with a card that said, "Congratulations, you deserve happiness." I kept those. Some people have asked if I regret that Rachel came to my wedding, if I wish she'd stayed away and let me get married without knowing the truth. The answer is no. As painful as it was, as much as it destroyed that day, I'm glad I know the truth. I'm glad I didn't walk down that aisle thinking I knew my family when I didn't. I'm glad I didn't build my marriage on the foundation of someone else's lies. The truth hurts, but lies hurt more in the end, and now I'm building my life, my marriage, my relationships on truth. Complicated, messy, painful truth. But truth, nonetheless. My father made choices that affected everyone around him for 25 years. He chose lies over honesty. He chose comfort over courage. Those choices had consequences. And watching those consequences unfold at my wedding, in front of everyone we knew, was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced. But I survived it. My mom survived it. Rachel survived it. And we're all, slowly, building something new from the wreckage. So here's my question for all of you. If you found out your parent had been hiding a secret sibling from you your entire life, would you want to know? Even if it meant destroying your family? Even if the timing was terrible? Or would you rather live in comfortable ignorance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Not the asshole if you think Rachel did the right thing telling me. You're the asshole if you think she should have stayed away. Everyone sucks here if you think everyone handled this badly. No assholes. Here if you think this was just a terrible situation with no good answers. And if you've ever had a family secret explode in your face, share your story. Sometimes it helps to know you're not alone in the chaos. Thanks for listening. Subscribe for more real stories about family drama, secrets, and the messy reality